Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about solving equations. It's kind of a review from Algebra 1 and also this is actually 122 day 2, so we're going to ignore that. But we're going to just talk about how to solve a few different kinds of equations. This is something you guys will just need to be able to do as we move along, but also there's a lot of these kinds of problems in your homework as well, so hopefully this helps you with that if you saw some of those problems and they looked a little funky or unfamiliar. Okay, so here are our goals, right? Review what it means to solve an equation, solve various types of equations, and also the zero product property. If you remember, we talked about that yesterday actually, so you'll already know how to do that one. All right. So this first one, whenever you see like a bunch of stuff on the two sides of an equal sign, right, the best thing you start to do is take care of any distributions if there are any. So what I mean by distributions is like if you have any numbers squished together with parentheses, then we want to distribute that number into whatever is there, right? There's one there and there's also one here. That is going to be the best first step that you can take. So when we do that, and remember distributing involves multiplying, so negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times 6 is negative 24. Okay, and that'll simplify the left side of the equal sign for us. And then on the other side, the negative 6x is just hanging out. But then here, we're going to do 4 times 5x, which is 20x. And then 4 times 3, which gives us 12. All right. Once you take care of that and get rid of all the parentheses, we can start to move around and combine terms. Now, you guys might remember a phrase called combining like terms. It means that we can go ahead and combine terms that have the same like variable exponent combination. So here, on this side of the equal sign, we have two x terms that we can combine. We cannot combine with the one on the other side yet because they're still on separate sides of the equal sign. So we'll just take care of each side alone first. Negative 6 plus 20 is going to be 14. So we got 14x. Okay, and everything else still stays the same. Okay, and now that there's no more combining left that we can do on each side of the equal sign individually, we can then start moving stuff over across the equal sign. So our goal is to get all the x terms together so that eventually we can solve for it, right? We only want there to be one x term. We can't solve for x when there's more than one hanging around. So what we can do is we can add this 4x to both sides. Okay, because it's negative, that's why I chose to add it. And then on the left, we're left with negative 24 equals 14x plus 4x is 18x, and that 12 is just going to stay as is. Okay? And next, we can go ahead and start to move things away with the end goal of getting x by itself, right? X needs to be alone, x does not like people. So we're going to go ahead and subtract a 12 from both sides, and we can go ahead and extend this line so that we don't accidentally mix up the two sides. And again, I subtracted it because it was originally positive. Okay, so that cancels there, and here we end up with a negative 36. Negative 24 minus 12 is negative 36. All right, and now we just have one more thing we need to do. Remember, our goal is to get x all by itself, so we can go ahead and divide both sides by 18 because it's being multiplied by x. So our final answer then is going to be negative 36 divided by 18, which is just negative 2. Okay? And that is how you solve in this kind of a situation. There are a few problems like that on your homework. All right. So for the next problem, this one actually involves cross multiplying, and then once we take care of that first piece, it's going to look just like this problem. So whenever you see two fractions set equal to each other, your best bet is going to be to do this cross multiplying method, right? And what that means is that we can set this up to be each diagonal together, right? Each diagonal is equal to each other. So the first one has 4 and 5x minus 4. And in fact, I'll put one in another color. Okay, so 4 times 5x minus 4 equals, and then the other green ones would be negative 8 times x plus 2. Okay, again, I'm just multiplying the things in each diagonal. Once you do that, you're ready to go ahead and start distributing just like we did in the first problem. Right, over here we get 4 times 5x is 20x, 4 times negative 4 is negative 16, and on the other side we have negative 8 times x, which is negative 8x, negative 8 times 2, which is negative 16. Alright, and now our goal, remember, is to get only one x value. So we have to move x values so that they can combine and we no longer have a bunch of them. Okay, so that line was unnecessary. So now a good move would be to add this 8x to both sides. Now we could have subtracted the 20 as well. It really doesn't matter which ones you move as long as you do it accurately. I decided to move the 8x to this side so that I could keep my x term positive. But really, there isn't a wrong way to do it. Okay, so now that we have our 28x minus 16 equals negative 16, we're remember trying to get x by itself. We need to move everybody away from x. So next, we want to take care of this 16 over here. Always got to take care of the addition and subtraction before you take care of any multiplication or division. So on the left, we're stuck with our our 28x, and on the right, negative 16 plus 16 is just 0. So now, the last thing we need to do in order to get x fully by itself is to divide both sides by 28, right? Because right now it's being multiplied, and you always want to do the opposite. Okay, so when we do that, these 28s are going to cancel. That's why we did it in the first place. And then you end up with an answer of x equals 0, because 0 divided by 28 is just 0. Okay, so really the main thing to remember here is that you start with cross multiplying, and then the process is no different than what we did the first time. All right, number 3, we have our zero product property, right? This is what we talked about yesterday. The whole idea is that when you multiply two things together to equal 0, one of them has to be 0 to make that come true. So what we're going to do is break it up and set each piece equal to 0, right? We want to find out what makes this parenthesis 0, and we want to find out what makes this parenthesis 0. So then, once you break it up, it turns into a very simple algebraic game, right? Here, we would subtract 4 on both sides, and you would get an answer of x equals negative 4. Why do I keep doing that? All right, so that's 1. And then here, you would subtract 1 from both sides and get x equals negative 1. So you get 2 answers, right? If I plug negative 4 in here, this parenthesis would turn into 0, and then it would be true. If I plugged in negative 1 here, this parenthesis would be 0, and then that would make it true. Okay, so that's called our zero product property. Okay. All right. Number 4 is our beloved quadratic formula. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and solve this one using that formula, which I could just write that here. Oh, yikes. All right. So remember, step 1 is selecting or identifying your A, B, and C. So my A is going to be the number with the x squared. My B is going to be the number with my x, so that's going to be my -8. And my C is going to be -80, this guy right here. Alright, so now I'm ready to start plugging into my equation. So we got a negative sign and then B, so my B is -8. Plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A, our A is 3, times C. Oh, it's green. Okay. And that's all over 2 times A. Alright, now that we're all plugged in, we can go ahead and start simplifying. So we know that this -1 times -8, that's going to turn into a +8. And remember, this whole first term, the point of it is just to be whatever your B is, but just with an opposite sign. Alright. So next, we have the square root. So let's go ahead and start simplifying whatever's in the square root. One easy way you can do that is by just typing what's in there in your calculator. So we can just turn on our calculator. Alright, so as long as you type it in exactly how you see it, right, exactly how you see it, make sure you use all the parentheses that I've put there. Alright, and like double check before you press enter to make sure, oh, see, I already made a mistake. That's supposed to be a +3 in there. Okay, so now I can tell that it's correct, and I will press enter, and I get a 1024 in there. Okay, and then down here I have 6. Now, we want to know what the square root of 1024 is. So let's see if we get something good. Okay, 32. So we'll put a 32 right here. And now we have simplified it as far as we possibly can. So this is where we will go ahead and break it up into 2 pieces. All right, the plus answer and the minus answer. So this one is going to give us 40 over 6. Simplified fraction form would be 20 over 3, so that's the best answer you could type in for MyOpenMath. They would probably accept 40 over 6 as well, though. Okay, and then 8 minus 32 is going to give us a -24. Okay, -24 over 6, so for that one we're just going to get a -4. Okay, and those are your 2 answers. Alright, one last one. There are problems in your homework that ask you to solve for letters. Okay, now we're solving for y instead of x. Now don't let that freak you out, right? All that means is we just have to act like y is the new x. You know, it's like orange is the new black, but y is the new x. So we just have to move everybody away and get y by itself. So the first step would be to subtract the 3x. Okay, so we end up with 2y equals. Now, 16 and 3x cannot combine, so we just leave it as is, right? We can't take away a 3x from 16 because we don't even know what x is. So we just leave it like that, leave everything there. And then now the final step to get y by itself is dividing by 2. So these 2's will cancel. And that tells us that our final answer for y is 16 minus 3x all over 2. Okay, and that is how you solve for y. That is the same process like to solve for any letter. Okay, it's not always going to be a nice numbered answer. This is also acceptable. Okay, and that is all for today.